That was 9-year-old Machel Montano singing his first hit single, Too Young to Soca. Definitely look this up on YouTube. It is adorable, very, very precocious. And right now I'm pleased to be joined by the all-grown-up Machel Montano inside the Q studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Trust me, this is just an illusion. I'm still that age.
You're still that kid?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think when you hear when you hear that song, when you hear that 9-year-old kid? What do you think of?
I think of all the work since then. You know, I think of the beginning. I think of it all. It's all like one capsule of imagination and what could have happened and what did happen. I could have been a lawyer. I was supposed to be. Yeah.
But I mean, it feels to me like you were the kid that kind of came out of the womb singing and performing and wanting to be an artist. Is that the case? I mean,
so not.
Really?
I've been telling this story all week. My brother was learning to play the guitar, and he had to his homework was to play guitar and sing, and this was just a side thing for him to do. But he didn't have the rhythm, so he used to pull me by the ear into the room and say, "Sing these words in this book," and I'll strum, and I'll be singing. And my mom said, "Hey, you have a nice voice. You want to go for singing lessons?" I was like, "Okay." I went for the lessons. He's like, "You want to join the choir?" I was like, "Okay." The choir was like, "You want to sing in a calypso competition?" I was like, "Okay." Next thing I know, somebody's asking, "You want to go to Madison Square Garden?" And it just happened that fast.
Wow.
From 1982 to 1984, I was into this career.
Right. So if your brother had more rhythm, this would never have happened.
Hey, sometimes you're born with some blessings. Yeah.
Well, listening to that from you as a 9-year-old kid to your newer stuff, I mean, obviously, soca has changed over that period of time. Your sound has changed.
My voice.
And your voice. Yes, it got deep. You grew up. You got the beard. But I want to talk a bit about soca's origins. Can you talk a bit about where soca comes from?
Well, soca, its meaning is the soul of calypso, and it's pretty young music. It was born around 1974, 1979, somewhere around there. I was born 1974, so soca really came about as the soul of calypso, and I think one of its creators, Ras Shorty I, he was Lord Shorty, a calypsonian, a mighty man, like a big man with gold and big cars and lots of women and huge houses, and one day he thought that, he was spiritually, inspired, and he went to live in the bush, and he had a family in there of about 23 kids with one wife, and he wore white robes and walked barefoot, and he started to integrate the sound of East Indian culture, which was very dominant in Trinidad and Tobago. There's African and Indian, and he mixed the East Indian drum with the African and calypso beat, and he came up with this soca beat, and he sang some of his first songs were like Om Shanti Om, Shanti Shanti Om, with messages about love and peace, and and he just changed the sound of soca, and he formed this soca sound, and since then it's been developing and growing, and it's been the vehicle for much unity in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah,
it seems to me from sort of reading your past interviews, seeing your past interviews, that it's not just that soca is an art form to you, but it's like a world view as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the coming together of at that point in time. I'm sure we were faced with decisions and situations, and you get inspirations from divine places, and you use the unity. So soca is a unity music, a unifying music. It's the soundtrack of carnival today. I call it the sound of the Caribbean, or the sound of carnival. So the soca means all these things to me. But really and truly, when you see a carnival in Trinidad or anywhere in the world, it's all these people of all different races coming together, and they're led by music. They're led by this music, and in this music there's love, and there's togetherness and celebration, celebration of life, love, and all its stories.
Yeah. Now, I know that you've talked about a time when soca wasn't really embraced by Trinidadian kids the way that it is now. So what sort of sparked this interest amongst a younger generation in the form of music?
Machel Montano.
Machel Montano.
Yeah,
I mean, no, fair enough.
I say that humbly because I remember the moment. You know, I'll never forget this moment. This was the moment I found purpose. You know, I was very famous in 1984 and 85 and 86 with the older crowd. They all loved him. Oh, he's so adorable. But then I wanted to see where my peers were. And when my mom took me to where my peers were, they were all, you know, lip syncing pop songs and dancehall songs, Belle Biv DeVoe, New Edition, you know, Buju Banton, and they didn't like. I sang soca and I felt so, you know, like not loved or not liked. So immediately I went into the back and I was thinking, should I sing R&B? Should I switch? But something said, no, this is your mission. This is your purpose. Make it hip. And my mission was to see young girls screaming on the front lines of the stage like the Beatles. Like, you know, I wanted to see that reaction, and I had to make the music into something. And the path I took was blending soca with dancehall, with pop, with hip hop, with classical songs. It was mixing the music.
Well, and we see that, you know, there's you know, the Trinidadian diaspora. I mean, there's so many folks who come from there and are in places like, you know, Toronto and London and all different places. So how have you, what do you make of the soca culture outside of Trinidad in places like, you know, here in Toronto and other places around the world? Is there a conversation sort of back and forth between the Caribbean and then artists who are performing that music in other places?
Well, the main focal point that we should zoom into is the behavior of, you know, as you mentioned, Trinidad and Tobago is just like Toronto or Notting Hill or London, where people come from all over and they live together. You know, like in New York, you look at it, the differences, the unique differences. In New York, you might still see Chinatown or Little Korea or Little Armenia. You know, we in a small island were forced to incubate in a tight space.
Yeah.
And so when we travel to cities like Toronto now, you know, we take our little Caribbean communities with us, and soca travels. So I believe that music, you know, is an energy ultimately. And you're in Toronto, but you love the energy of the Caribbean community. Machel Montano will come here and be loved by Guyanese, Jamaicans, Vincentians, Bajans, Trinis, you name it. And soca music is what I can play and everybody will relate.
Yeah.
These little things, but the energy in it is the fact that we really color through the lines and across the lines of each other's culture easily, more easily than big cities.
Yeah. Well, and I know that you've been coming to Caribana for years and years and years and have strong ties here. I also know that you've expressed some concern in the past that maybe the Trinidadian roots of Toronto's carnival festivals haven't been maybe like overlooked a little bit. Is that the case still for you, or what did you mean by that?
I have heard that argument, but you know, that hasn't been my point of view totally. I have grown up watching this and seeing some of the changes. I, you know, distinctly remember a year in Caribana, they had hip hop trucks on the road, and Puff Daddy wanted to be on the road, and Shaquille O'Neal wanted to be on the road. And for me, I'm always about inclusion. I'm always about, let these people come in and let them feel what it is. You know, I've always thought, though, that the philosophy behind our carnival has to be, you know, part of the education. You know, part of the sharing, and, you know, what playing mass is, what playing Juve is, what putting on the king and queen costumes is about. You know, but we want to embrace all cultures. Presently, I am a part of Hollywood Carnival in Los Angeles, California.
Wow.
Yeah, and, you know, the whole point about this is we want to include, you know, all cultures of the world and let them play a role. So we have a parade where you would see people from Ecuador, people from China, Korea, portraying their cultural groups. And then at the back of the parade, you will see people from the islands and all different islands playing mass. So it's two different kinds of carnival, two different kinds of display of, you know, and this was always my concern. You know, we have to, the Trinidad and Tobago people who are the mecca of carnival, the way we do it, we have to explain the depths of what the different things are and let that reverberate, but also bring from other cultures similar.
Right. So there's that balance of sort of maintaining the roots and the history and making sure that doesn't get lost, but also... Well,
the reason for it, for the balance, is the purpose. We ultimately want the purpose to be achieved in the present. Yeah. You know, so we mix the tradition, which is the past, with the future, which is the technology, but we bring it with the truth in the present moment. You know, that's the balance we want. We want the purpose to be achieved. We want everybody to be celebrating on the road, but knowing why.
Right.
with depth,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
taking home that message of love and unity.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're just tuning in, my guest is soca artist Machel Montano, and I'm Rachel Giese, and this is Q. This weekend, you are also, in addition to being at Carabana, you're also headlining Drake's OVO Fest. And OVO Fest has never been headlined by a soca artist before. So how did this come about? How did this...
Last year, we were at Carabana, and somehow, we decided to go up to the lake and make some music. And we also got invited to OVO. So we came to OVO. My management, half of my team is from Canada, so of course they're friends, Canadians are close, so they're friends with some of Drake's people. And I was just backstage watching Outkast, and Drake was backstage watching Outkast, and the door opened to the stage, and he saw me, and he was like, yo, come through and do some songs tomorrow and mash up the place. I was pretty shocked that he knew who I was, and we tried to make it happen, but we couldn't make it happen. And somewhere in between that and this year, some conversations went down, and this is it. I think it's Drake's interest in Caribbean music and Caribbean culture, which is now coming to the forefront. It's timely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of honorable of him to reach out and make this step. It's going to be a major step for not just West Indians in Canada, West Indians around the world, but for Carabana itself.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've talked about, Drake bringing sort of the soca sound into the song One Dance. Justin Bieber's Sorry has a soca sound. And you did a collaboration with Major Lazer and Ariana Grande. And I just want to play a bit of that.
Let's do it.
So let me jump and show them. So let me jump and show them. So let me jump and show them. So let me jump and show them.
So, Machel, there are some people who feel sort of protective of their music, and they get anxious when they start hearing the sound, being pulled in by artists who don't share those roots. It sounds like that's not what you're about. It sounds like you are enjoying the fact that we're hearing soca coming up in dance music and hip hop and pop. Is that the case?
Well, to protect is to perceive that there's an attack, and I believe in either love or fear, and love is complete, fear is void of love, I think when you know what you are, you want to share it, because it's complete and it's ever abundant, full, and pouring out. So that's how I think. A lot of people are afraid to embrace change because they hold on to things, and a lot of people know it's love and they just let it go. So it's just an idea of what you think. People want to stay pure. It's like you have Republicans, Democrats. Some wants to reach across, some want to stay the same. It's all how you view life. And I learned this was how I gained success. This was my challenge I was faced with at 11 years old. Do I sing R&B? And how I figured it out was by, sharing my music and sharing my music with hip hop and pop and dance and sharing with different artists. And it's worked for me. So I keep moving in that direction,
Yeah. If you didn't already have enough going on, you also are now in a film. You've got a new film coming out. You are about to make your feature film debut in a movie called Bazodi. It hits U.S. theaters next week. What's the movie about?
We had a tagline, love is a carnival, where music and passion collide is our new tagline. And the movie was called Scandalous at one point in time.
And what does Bazodi mean?
Bazodi is from a French word, bazodi, and it means simply, to be crazy in love, to be so in love that you might do stupid things or do things that you'll never catch yourself doing.
Yeah.
And it's like the word sprung, in our modern times. But the movie is about a soca artist who left, his shores, left the islands to seek fame and didn't quite make it, came back home and was despondent, wanted to go and be normal. And he fell in love with this girl, but this girl was an Indian girl from a rich family, so they come from two different worlds, race-wise, culture-wise, class-wise. And she really was a fan of his music. What his music transmitted to her was joy and happiness and peace. And she had that in her heart. And by her really telling him, look, no, you need to keep making this happy music and keep spreading it around the world. And she got him back into music, and that got him in love, and that got them in trouble. And the rest is in the theaters.
So people should check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, before I let you go, I noticed that you have an instrument. You brought an instrument in with you, a little ukulele.
A famous line in the movie, my ukulele.
Oh, okay. I'll look out for that when I see the movie. You say that with such innuendo.
It's an inside joke.
So I'm wondering if you could close us out with something.
Definitely.
So what are you going to play for us?
A song I wrote a couple of years ago called Dance With You.
Okay. Performing a little bit of his hit single, Dance With You, this is Machel Montano.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Say, I know I've done so many wrong things in the past, yeah. Still what we have is everlasting. I don't wanna bring those old memories back, no. I just wanna love again. Oh, oh, no more lonely nights up inside this house, whoa. Come with me into the streets, hey, hey. This is our time to give it what we got, oh. And let's move these happy feet. I just wanna dance with you, party over here now, for two, 'cause God, I get this feeling that's so true, whenever I'm dancing, yeah, with you, oh, oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, say we gonna rock a fed tonight, come on, come on, come on, come on, we gonna rock that Q so live, come on, come on, come on, come on, we gonna rock the club tonight, just me and you, oh, oh.
Oh, that was so lovely. Thank you so much. What a treat. That was Machel Montano with an acoustic take of his hit single, Dance With You. Machel, what a pleasure to have you drop by.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah, have
Thank
a
you so much.
fantastic weekend.
So, same to you.